Here comes the final fight. President Obama met with Harry Reid this morning on the budget. Then he met with Mitch McConnell later in the afternoon. We're in the final rounds of the budget talks. And remember, everybody, this is the last serious piece of business they're going to do before the 2012 election. After that, it's all politics. They might introduce bills, but that ain't going to be worth a damn because this is the only thing that's going to pass, okay? So which way are they going to go? Well, we've got a couple of clues today. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney talked about shared sacrifice and a balanced approach.
Now's the time to make these tough choices, and that's why we have to have a balanced approach, so that no sector of society, not the middle class, not seniors, not any one segment of the business community has to bear any disproportionate burden.
Where's the shared sacrifice from the rich? Now think about how crazy backwards this is, right? First, they started with the $2 trillion in spending cuts. So the poor, the seniors, et cetera, they get cut first. And then they go ask the rich, pretty please, can we just get a little revenue increase from you guys? That's not how it's supposed to work. But under our current perverse system, that's exactly how it is. And who are the biggest protectors of that system? Well, of course, the Republicans. And they are refusing to budge on taxes.
Don't force us to raise taxes.
Including massive job-killing tax hikes would be a poison pill. Let's move past the tax hikes.
Do you get that? These guys are the worst. They're saying all of the sacrifice should come from the middle class and the poor. When it gets to the corporations or the rich, hell no. No tax increases, nothing, not even from big oil. In fact, the Republicans are in kind of a tough spot now because they're squeezed between big oil and the big banks. Why? Because if they do any kind of compromise with the Democrats, oil subsidies are the first things to go. So the oil companies don't want that. They say, no compromise. Don't worry about the debt ceiling. Whereas Wall Street says, we've got to raise that debt ceiling, okay? We don't want our interest rates going up. That could jeopardize our business. So what are the Republicans going to do? Well, they're going to try to get everything. They're going to say, all right, no tax increases whatsoever for any of our rich buddies, and we stick it to the middle class. Now, the question is, are the Democrats going to let them get away with it? And look, we've got another clue here, and it's a good one. It's Vice President Joe Biden. He's saying all the right things about phasing, and he's phrasing it as a moral issue. Let's check it out.
We're never going to solve our debt problem if we ask only those who are struggling in this economy to bear the burden and let the most fortunate among us off the hook. Not because we want to douse it. This is not populism. It's just fairness. Not only is it unfair to do what they're calling about, I think it borders on being immoral.
To which I say, of course we shouldn't just do this on the back of the middle class. We should have the conversation about the rich and the oil companies and the banks on the first day, not after we gave away $2 trillion. Look, if they actually follow what Joe Biden is saying there, I love it. I'm going to be the first guy come out here and give them all the credit in the world, say, hey, they got something real, and it was real shared sacrifice. But if they cave into the Republicans again, under the last thing that they're really going to discuss in Obama's term, oh, it will be unbearable. God, that is, look, it's a good drama. I don't know which way they're going to go. If history is any judge, we're in a little bit of trouble. But let's talk about it. Joining me now, Jared Berstein, former chief economist for Vice President Joe Biden, that we just showed you, of course, and now a senior fellow with the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Also with us, Ezra Klein, Washington Post columnist and Msnbc policy analyst. All right, Jared, let's start with the White House. You've been on the show before. You can see where I'm going here. Well, okay, but look, let me start with the obvious question, at least obvious in my mind. Why didn't we start with the conversation about, hey, let's look at revenue at the same time as we're doing spending cuts? Why did we give the spending cuts on the middle class and the poor first and then go, oh, pretty please, will you give us some tax increases?
Cenk, I think we're going to be all right here. And in fact, we did start with that.
Really?
Democrats, for the Democrats from the beginning, the negotiators from the beginning talked about a plan that had balance. Now, it's absolutely true that the progress that was made in the Biden side of the talks focused on spending cuts, but not once in any public statement I heard or you heard or Ezra heard, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, did Democrats waver on this balance, including what you just played from Jay Carney. And the reason, we can't forget the rationale for this, because it's exactly as you set the piece up. If you try to do everything on the spending side, you will have to cut so deeply into the most vulnerable and already economically insecure folks in this economy that you're going to do far more harm than good. And that's why the balance is so important. And at least to my ears, I have not heard any wavering on that point.
All right, not to my ears. I mean, look, Ezra, let me ask you about that.
Have you heard waver?
Yeah, no, I have, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I already heard that they agreed to $2 trillion in cuts, and we haven't gotten a dime in revenue increases at all yet. So that's a big problem.
Okay, wait, one other point, Cenk, but going in. Before this even started, President Obama gave a speech in April at George Washington University where he outlaid a balanced plan with $1 trillion of revenue, $2 trillion of cuts, and $1 trillion of lower interest payments, $4 trillion going into the cuts. So I thought he set the table on that.
But look, Jared, that's the problem. Rhetorically, he set the table. I came out and said, hey, look, I love that speech except for one line in it, right? But then when we started the negotiations, what happened? We gave him the $2 trillion before we got to the $1 trillion in revenue. Isn't that what happened,
But wait,
Jared?
isn't it important, though, to say that the ideal in these negotiations, or the principle, is always nothing is agreed to until everything is? We don't have a deal. There's no deal on the table. There's nothing the White House and the Republicans have shook hands on. There's $2 trillion in spending because they began there, and we don't know what's in that spending. A lot of it, from what we know currently, appears to be war and defense related, which I don't think would make you too unhappy. But until they actually cut a deal, we can't keep saying they cut a deal without revenues. So far as we know right now, this blew up because the White House said, if you don't give us revenues, there is no deal.
So how does this resolve itself? That's what I want to ask you guys, right? So the Republicans say, and we just showed you the clips, under no circumstance that we're ever going to raise a dime in taxes. We have to protect our buddies in the oil companies. We have to protect the banks. We have to protect the rich and the powerful. We're the richy rich party, and we will look out for them no matter what, right? What happens?
So it depends on how you interpret what's going on now. If the Republicans are truly crazy and want to take this economy over a cliff, you know, protect us all. If this is about political leverage, trying to position yourself to get the best deal you can, which in their mind means the smallest amount of revenues as part of the puzzle, that's where I think that if you want to worry, Cenk, that's what you should worry about. Not that there won't be revenues as part of the deal, but the revenues will be fractional relative to the spending cuts. And that's something we have to fight very hard to prevent.
Look, Ezra, here's some other clues that I have that concern me, right? The one line that I did not like in that speech that Jared was referring to from President Obama was, he said, hey, if we take away some loopholes, et cetera, we might actually lower taxes. And I was like, whoa, why are we talking about lowering taxes? That's the craziest thing I ever heard. Is it possible that they're going to take away these things, you know, corporate jets, oil subsidies, hedge fund manager rates? I mean, look, that would be a great start. But then lower corporate taxes and maybe even the top income bracket.
First, I like that we keep calling this clues because it makes me feel like Sherlock Holmes. It's very exciting. But going beyond that, I think we should lower rates. I don't think that's a bad thing. You want to bring some of that money into deficit too. But we have a real bad tax code, Cenk. Why do you think? Why do you possibly think it's good for people in the middle of the tax code to pay high rates so we have regressive mortgage interest breaks?
Wait a minute, Ezra, hold on. You're framing it all wrong. Wait a minute. If you take away people's home mortgage deductions, right? Well, that hurts the middle class a lot. Yeah, it hits the middle upper class a little bit too.
Go look at a graph of who.
Okay,
go look at a graph of who benefits from the home mortgage interest deduction.
Ezra,
but that's incorrect what you were saying.
Well, wait a minute. You're telling me that no middle class person has a house and they don't have home mortgage deductions?
But that it's a regressive deduction. It's heavily regressive.
I can help you guys.
No, wait a minute. Look. I can't have you take away all these deductions from the middle class. Now, I can have it if it was fair. Hold on. I can have it if it was fair.
That's what you would do.
But I can't have you take away all these deductions and then say, but as a reward, I will lower the top bracket for the rich. That's crazy talk.
But nobody's talking about that as a trade-off.
Okay, I can clear this up with you. First of all, Ezra's got a point in the following sense. 67% of the benefits of the home interest mortgage deduction go to the top 20%. So it's not exactly a middle-class thing. But don't worry about it, Cenk, because nobody's talking about that. When they're talking about broadening the base and lowering rates, they're talking about on the corporate side. And here, I'm not sure I agree with my friend Ezra in the following sense. When Republicans talk about broadening the base and lowering the the rates. At best, they're talking about revenue neutral. That means giving up any deficit reduction you're getting from the base broadening on lowering the rate. So it cancels itself out.
Why?
So don't
why
go
would
there.
it be revenue neutral, guys?
So,
the whole point was we were supposed to raise $1 trillion from revenue.
So
now we're talking about revenue neutral. And guys, you got to answer this question for me. You've got to answer this question. Why are we playing on Republican ground talking about lowering? I thought we were supposed to balance the budget. Don't you get it? The Republicans don't ever want to balance the budget. They don't give a damn about the budget. All they want to do is lower taxes for the rich and for corporations. Why are we helping them? When they say we should lower corporate taxes, President Obama should say, under no circumstances, we are going to take away those deductions. We're going to take away the oil subsidies because we need shared sacrifice. I'm not going to do this on the back of the middle class. I'm not going to do it on the back of the poor. We're going to do shared sacrifice. No talk of lowering corporate taxes. Instead, I hear nothing but lower taxes from Washington. It makes me sick.
I think part of the answer, though, is that the whole point of this isn't deficit reduction. It can't be. If you want to talk about a Republican frame, the Republican frame is that the only thing in government that matters now is deficit reduction. It isn't. Growth matters. Policy matters. We should have more stimulus. We should have a better tax code. The idea that whatever they're for, progressives should be against, that's not how you get to good policy, I don't think. Now, you're right when you say that we can't balance a budget on the backs of the poor or the middle class or the working class or seniors. That isn't how you do it either. That's a bad policy. But in all things, I think the lodestar here should be good policy. It can't just be, well, this is how we reduce the deficit progressively, or this is what Republicans are for, and as such, progressives are against
Ezra,
it.
nobody's saying that. Well, you think I take my cues from what the Republicans do? I don't give a damn what the Republicans do. I care about the middle class. And if you're coming to screw the middle class by saying, oh, no, you got to protect the oil companies, you got to protect the rich, and you got to lower corporate taxes, we should say, hell no. So what does our leadership do?
Jay, here's my view on this. Look, Ezra is, and both of you are barking up the right tree in the following sense. If there's going to be some revenues in the near term in this deal, you're going to start hearing a lot about the very kinds of loopholes we're talking about now. But, Cenk, I'm with you on the following point. Don't start letting these folks talk about a trade-off for lower tax rates for a broader base, because they will give away the store. They will lower the rates far enough to offset any benefits of that base broadening. And, Ezra, I hope you agree with that point, because I think we can't allow any bit of revenue we collect from base broadening to disappear on a rate cut at this point in time.
And look,
if
guys,
if you're talking about base broadening on the corporate side, I A, mainly agree with you, but B, I think there's no chance it's happening anytime soon in a serious way. They don't have anywhere near the political capital right now to do corporate tax reform, and the corporations can't agree on what it would mean anyway, and they're the ones who'd have to be there.
34 Republicans voted for to end ethanol subsidies just a week or so ago.
All right, look, if we get, guys, we got to leave it right there. We got to leave it right there. If we get real revenue increases, I would be ecstatic. I don't think we're going to get it, and then it's going to be not only bad policy. God, you're going to run on that in 2012. All right, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. In an interesting business at interesting times. Jared Berstein, Ezra Klein, thank you both for your time tonight. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.